Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bible study. Today we are going to study about the calling of Matthew. And when Jesus finds Matthew the first time and he makes a call, let's dive in. So we are Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 to 12, the calling of Matthew. As Jesus went on from there, so Jesus is passing through, we don't know which town, where exactly. He saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. So on that time, there were collectors of um, taxes to be given to Caesar because he was pretty much the government. And this was a government job where Matthew was sitting there. Was pretty easy. He didn't have to do much of the effort. He just had to check whoever's on the list for the taxes, who didn't pay taxes. People make a line, and as soon as they give the amount they're supposed to pay taxes to Caesar, he will check it off. Next. So it was an easy job, I would say. He was handling the money, but I says it was a government job. But look what happened when Jesus passed by, saw him. Something was in Matthew that Jesus loved. It was something in his heart. He saw he had great potential to be an apostle in the future. And he told Matthew, "Follow me." And Matthew got up and followed him immediately. He wouldn't think about the job opportunities. That is a good job to hang that on the seat there. He would not think a second more. He stood up and followed Jesus. How about if you have a good job, a government job, and Jesus comes by and tells you, "Follow me"? What would you do? As for me, I don't have a government job. I have a job, and mine is, I would say, stressful most of the time. I would not hesitate, neither stressful, neither a good job, to follow Jesus. I'm already following. I'm not sure about you out there. But following Jesus transformed Matthew's life from where he was and who became later on. We read the book of the old Matthew, what he wrote. The has passages in chapter 5 and very, very good, well made. I enjoy reading his writing. All right, let's go next. Verse 10. While Jesus was saving, so Matthew invited Jesus, made a big, dinner table, invited his friends, which were still his friends because he was a tax collector. His friends were tax collector as well. And they call that tax collectors were the worst. Nobody liked to sit up, with them. Nobody liked to be around them. That's why he didn't have any other friends. He had the same work he worked with tax collector. They were his friends, Matthew's friends. But Jesus got invited. Now Matthew's following him, so they are coming together. Matthew gave a big, I would say, party, a dinner party, and invites all these. And Jesus eats with them. And also, Jesus has his disciples with him. So Jesus is invited with his disciples, and Matthew brings the other tax collectors, his friends, and other people that are considered sinners. So while Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples, which are Jesus' disciples. So there's a feast they eat. Now, Jesus' disciples understand because he picked the other ones from different places where they were, like Peter, for example, from fishing, and other ones for whenever he went, he picked up and made. It's how he made the 12 disciples. So that his disciples understood that eating with sinners and tax collector and all that, because they were coming from that area as well. Verse 11, when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with tax collector and sinners? So the Pharisees always is like you can't get rid of them. They're always in the spot. They're always watching, people's back, what everybody sees, like spies. It's how I see them. They're like spies. Whenever Jesus went, they went, and whenever did something that they were questionable, they will not ask Jesus, but they will ask his disciples, why? Why your teacher, if he's considered, like he's so great, he's uh, teaching so many people and not from, from the Old Testament, his teaching has power and makes miracle signs and wonders. Why is he eating with tax collector and sinners? We know that we born in the family and we cannot change the family, but we can change our friends. So we can pick our friends whoever we want. So friends, you can, so it's based on that, you know so you're not going to, so if you're righteous, you're not going to pick your friends to be sinners, because it pulls you down. In the same pit they are, they pulled you down there. So that's the Pharisees understanding, that whenever you're on the higher level, like you're a teacher of that time, you're not going to put yourself down to eat with the ones that you're teaching them not to be, to get out of the sin. So you're not going to put yourself down with them, eat at the same table. It's more like a Jewish, I would say, tradition. You don't, especially, well, when you're Pharisees, you don't, but either when you're a teacher. Now, they're asking why Jesus does that, why Jesus is eating with the sinners and tax collector. So tax collector were considered much worse than sinners, because they will get, whenever they collect taxes, either they put different numbers there, they take some part of it, or whenever they get paid well, and they don't care if they can collect the taxes after people, they will go in and take their animals, goats, or whenever they had, maybe even the last animal they have in the house to feed the family with the milk, they will take the last things they take from the house whenever they find, and bring it as you know as taxes for Caesar. So they were, like, I would say, pretty bad in that time. Everybody hated them. Nobody wanted to pay taxes to Caesar. And especially if they didn't have money, they still had to pay regardless. And they hated when they were around. So those people were hated by everybody living around them. But Jesus is different. And people have to see that in Jesus' heart, there's love for everybody. No matter where you are, you have a government job to collect taxes, and people don't like that, you're hated by people. Or maybe you do some other jobs that people hate you. I don't know what that would be. Remember that Jesus always loves you. So in this instance, Jesus, he doesn't care that he eats with tax collector and sinners. That's why he came for. He came to bring those to salvation. Let's go next. On hearing this, so Jesus, he heard that, even though the Pharisees, the people of the law, of the Bible, of the Old Testament, teachers of the law and all that, they're called Pharisees. They're like a high rank in the in Jewish, like a, I would say, theology. I would say in this time, so they're like in high rank. They were talking to Jesus' disciples, but Jesus heard because he was there. On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not healthy. It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." So when you're sick, you go to the doctor, right? And Jesus is more like, he puts in like that. He is the doctor, right? So he's seeing the sick people, but sick in their soul, sick, like sick in their hearts. They are on the wrong way, and Jesus is bringing them back. Exactly, so he put, like, it is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. So if you don't have no problems, your heart is in the right place, you love Jesus, you know, you don't need as much. But the one who is a sinner, who is a tax collector, who doesn't understand who Jesus is and what he does, they need to learn who Jesus is and come on the right path. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. So Jesus is coming merciful. He's going to change people. He's going to forgive people. He's going to forgive their sin. So that's why he came for. He came for the sick, not the healthy. The healthy, they don't need a doctor, do you? Need a doctor if you are healthy? No. But who seek the sick one seeks the doctor, who is doctors of the soul, is Jesus. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners. Peter was a sinner. He called him from the fishing area, was a fisherman. Matthew was a tax collector. So he's gathering all these people and makes his disciples that in a short future, after they get discipled by Jesus, after Jesus dies and get resurrected, these 12, well, I would say 11 because Judah, but this one gets discipled and they become apostles. But they bring them from a lower level to where they got to the higher one. So to a higher understanding, I would say. And today, Jesus is bringing us from where we are as sinners to a higher understanding with Him. If we want to follow Him, we follow His teaching, His directions, His path, He's going to bring us higher in a higher way, like apostles of Jesus Christ. And I think this concludes our Bible study. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed. Till next time, I say goodbye. Goodbye now.